We try to do one last check on our YouTube live feed, because if it's not recording completely, then I'm watching myself on the delay. That's cool. We'll see. Actually, I'm just going to assume that it's recording since I'm looking at it. I've opened the YouTube studio for SJV Good News. It says,
hello, everyone. I'm Miss Connie, and I'm here today bringing you the first episode of Ask Father Tim. We are here and we're asking you to send in questions to us so Father Tim can answer them. Any question you have, it's no question too big or too small. And today is our very first episode, but we don't have a question yet. So Father Tim is going to ask himself a question.
Indeed, I am. It did occur to me, we technically did get some questions, just amongst our chit chat with our last youth gathering at the parish. And they were actually good. I think other people might be interested in those questions. But the reason I'm going to ask myself this question, or you can ask it, because I'll tell you to, is because today, as we're making this video, is All Souls Day. So we assume everyone is somewhat familiar with All Souls Day. If not, it might make sense as we go. So the question that I thought would be good for All Souls Day, and just put out this video for everyone's enjoyment, is what are your 3 best ghost stories? So of course, it sounds awkward if I ask it to myself. So you have to ask me that question. Go ahead, Ms.
Okay.
Scott.
All right. Father Tim, what are your 3 best ghost stories in honor of All Souls Day?
That's a great question for All Souls Day. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be able to answer this. Thank you. I'm going to give one ghost story that is really fascinating, but not mine. So it's just a third hand story, but it's a real ghost story. Second one is mine, and it's a serious one. And the third one is just kind of a little anecdote, a bit about what it's like to be a priest, because you get more ghost stories sometimes being a priest than the average person does. Like, angels and demons are real spirits. There's good spirits. We name them angels. They're God's messengers. The demons are evil spirits. They're the devil's henchmen. So we really believe in angels and demons as true spirits. But not to be afraid of the demons. As long as we're on God's side and we're living a good and holy life, one should never be afraid of evil spirits. That said, I affirm absolutely that evil spirits can cause trouble for people, and they can also be a terrible influence for people. So one of my stories has to do with that. This is just a heads up. But the other stories are when you hear a Catholic ghost story, the ones that are believable to us from our perspective are the ones where it's a human being. It's a person who's died. And from the stories of the saints, people probably heard, it's entirely possible for God allows the souls of people who have died to come back to earth and interact with people. When it's a soul from heaven, we call it an apparition of the saints, right? So I hope everyone is following along. First ghost story. I don't know where this convent is, or where it was, but there was a convent of nuns. Okay, so they lived all together. I picture it as if it's like some out in the country convent, but I don't remember that part because I don't remember what convent it was. There was a nun who worked in the sewing room. They might have had an apostolate where they literally made things with cloths and sewing. And she died, and after the nun who worked in the sewing room died, things started moving in the sewing room, and everyone swore that no one had moved it. And they said, sister so-and-so must be coming into the sewing room, her spirit, and moving things. And I don't know, maybe someone even said that they saw sister so-and-so, her ghost, after she had died. Well, being good Catholic nuns, they said, well, we need to pray for sister so-and-so, because that's what you do when you're afraid that someone's soul is troubled or that they're wandering about this world. You pray for the dead. That's why we have All Souls Day. And so they asked the priest to come and say mass in the sewing room. And they determined that they would say 10 masses. I don't know how they figured that out, but they said 10 masses. For the first 9 masses, every time the priest got to the Our Father, both candles would go out.
Oh, wow.
Every single mass. And on the 10th mass, got to the Our Father and the candles didn't go out. He was able to finish the mass without the candles going out. And they said,
It's you, it's the last one.
Sister must have needed the prayers from the sewing room, and the candles kept going out at the Our Father. Do another mass. keep praying for me. So anyhow, that I guess that comes as an unauthorized story, but I tell it exactly like I heard it. Number 2. Okay, so this is a rather serious story. Stay with me, folks. This is just completely anonymous, but there was a family that I knew, who, in the end, I came to find out. Like, I really believe that this family was being pestered. Sometimes we say oppressed, but not possessed. Okay, no one was possessed in this story. Disclaimer: there were no possessions. But I really think that this family was being pestered by demonic forces.
So there's no spinning heads in this story?
None.
Oh.
Although a bit of the supernatural, and I really believe the claims of the kind of a disturbing supernatural part of this particular story. And it was a family too that, like, I had great sympathy for, because they had all sorts of trouble that, the results of poor decisions and sins and family history and all that. So they were in a really hard spot, but they had moved into a new house. They started renting it. And I tried to help them out, to be a spiritual pastor, to go to bless the house and all of that sort of stuff, as much as I could. But things just did not work out for them. And like patterns of one bad happening for their family, followed by a bad decision and response. Like, this terrible pattern just kept happening. And then later, it so happened I was speaking to the owner of that house, and I got this disturbing story from them, that sometime in the past, in that house, the owner and the family had decided to have a Ouija board session. And they said, in the Ouija board session, and for the record, folks, Catholics, we disapprove of Ouija boards. Like, don't try to tap into the evils, to any spirits. Even if you think they're good spirits, don't use Ouija boards to try to get answers from spirits. Because in the Ouija board session, the owner of the house claimed that the board itself lifted up supernaturally and was flung across the room. And it all made sense. I believed it. I absolutely believed the story. I said, this makes sense as to why this family needs so much spiritual help. And so, but I really believed that story, and it made sense to me. I'm like, there's just, I don't know what, I'm not naming the demon, and I'm not like saying it's a specific force, but that demon, I'm sure that there are evil forces at work that are trying to ruin this family's life. Whew. So anyhow, the moral of the story is, don't play with Ouija boards, folks. Third story, just really it's kind of funny, kind of simple, because a lot of times when you get into a situation where people are asking you for spiritual help, sometimes they need it, they need the intercession, but not more than anything else. And sometimes they're people that they really don't know what they believe. Like, they're not strong Catholics. They're Catholic, but they haven't gone to church forever and ever. Sometimes you get non-Catholics and they say, well, why are you asking me? Because I'm, are you interested? We feel like a priest is the important thing to do. Anyhow, so I went to one woman's house who said that she had seen spirits in her house. And, I don't immediately assume people are crazy or that they're seeing hallucinations when they say they're seeing spirits. I just I believe that people can see spirits, that it's possible. And don't be afraid. But if you think that there's some ghost haunting your house, it's possible. It can never hurt to have a priest come bless your house. and do prayers. I'm not going to do like this hour-long dramatic exorcism. There were no spinning heads in these stories, right? But so I went to her house. So let's pray. I'm going to sprinkle the house with holy water. I'm going to bless the house, just like any priest would bless the house. So I go through and bless the house, and I just had to laugh after the house blessing, because it ended up being one of these things where, like, I'm happy to have been called to the priest. I'm happy to bless the house. I think it will be a good spiritual influence with them, but I don't know I don't know what kind of resolve this person has to really follow God and to live as a good Christian. Because I look over, I finished blessing the house, like, oh, that's a very nice statue of Buddha that you have on your mantelpiece. And I forget, maybe I asked them about it or where it came from. I just said, well, if it came from such and such a family, you can keep it on Cemento. But it was just, I forgot, I didn't realize that it had been there. I thought it would have seen it at the beginning, like, oh, well, I still encourage you to be good Christians, even if you want to keep this statue of Buddha as a memento for some reason. But, like, let's not take this as let's not try a little bit of each religion just to see which one works.
Yeah.
In a certain sense, you go with your conscience, but that means you got to make decisions on which one you think is true, and you need to really dig in and investigate it and see if that one is going to lead to a good life. That's just that makes the most sense. And I'm, obviously, if they wanted to have a long discussion about living a Christian life in prayers, I would, but we just had a very short discussion, and I'm happy to bless the house. I hope that whatever's happening with your spirits that you're seeing, that it all works out. Don't be alarmed. Don't be afraid. And my church is right down the road. Come visit me sometime. Anyhow, so there we go.
Excellent. Those were all very good ghost stories. I've heard a similar one to that first story that you told. My sister owns a nursing home, and she often says, because they often have residents who pass while they're in the nursing home, and she feels a connection a lot of time to their spirits. And there was a man who passed somewhat unexpectedly, and the med techs who worked there often complained about when they went in the room after he had died, that it was very cold in the room, and they had like the hairs on the back of their necks would stand up. And she went in and she said she thought she could feel his spirit in there. And weird things started happening. Someone would go in and all the drawers on the dresser would be open, and nobody knew how that had happened. And she would go in, and the door to the bathroom that adjoined the room was open, and it would all of a sudden shut while she was standing right there, and there was nobody there. And she was painting one day for the new person who was going to come into that room, and she said the hairs on the back of her neck stood up, and she just felt like he was there. She didn't see anything, she just felt like he was there. So she said a little prayer, and she reached out to him and said, it's okay, everything's fine here, your family's doing well, and it's time for you to move on. And she said after that there weren't any more incidents, and everyone felt comfortable in the room. So just a little story, not as exciting as any of yours, but
absolutely. If I can summarize my own experience, as far as like any place where I think where I really think like, oh, is this, I heard something, I've seen something out of place. I don't think I've ever seen a spirit in my life, although I firmly believe in them. 99% of the time, like I do investigate. Like I'm like, oh, like that's why this or that happened. So I'm like this skeptical scientist. I do that all the time, and 99 times out of 100, I come up with an explanation for it. I'm like, I don't need to be spooked here. There's no spirits. That said, like I still have that 1% of my own stories that I can't explain.
Right.
And again, when someone says that they've seen a spirit or they've seen an angel, I've actually not talked with anyone I've not talked to anyone that I think is sane who has claimed to I have had conversations with people that I really think they're insane. And so I can't really believe in their claims to have seen the demons.
Sure.
There's my summary of my own experiences, and it's All Souls Day. So no matter what, everyone who's died, we pray for them.
That's right.
You know, and when the church canonizes someone, like, okay, they're in heaven, God is now giving them a mission to do good on earth. That's one of the things that it means to be canonized. It means they are not everyone in heaven. God gives them a mission, even if we don't know the mission. So we tell all the souls in heaven, pray for us and do good for us. Like that's, but if we're not sure if they're in heaven yet, they might be in purgatory, pray for them. And therefore you pray for everyone. You think you see someone's ghost, you pray for them. Don't be afraid. I hope everyone is enjoyed it, and God bless.
God bless.
Pieces here and there, but also of course, chop off the ends and this conversation we're having right now. And we might end up with like a 15-minute Ask Father Tim video. It's like a 10-second delay.
Yep.
I've got the sound turned off though, so it's not. But I can see like the 10-second delay with our conversation here, and it's got the red button said end stream.